students. Today we will discuss about a living cell. First of all, we will concentrate about the definition of cell. A cell is a fundamental structural and functional unit of all living things. Here it is. Now this cell, how do you know that there is cell? This is a very difficult thing to understand. It was not been understood until and unless there was a remarkable invention took place long back in 1665. It was the invention of light microscope or compound microscope done by English scientist Robert Hooke, by using which he could see the cells of a slice of a cork, and he called him those box-like structures that he saw under the microscope as cells. So Robert Hooke initiated the process, and then afterwards this method continued. Scientists studied the cells, tried to know the facts about it, and it progressed more and more. Much later, back in 1897 and 1906, two more scientists, German scientists, invented one more efficient and more unique electron microscope. It was been done by the scientist named as Max Knoll and Ernest Truska. By this microscope, that is called electron microscope, where it is instead of light, electron beam is being used, magnifying power is furthermore almost about 200,000 times, where using this microscope, electron microscope, we can see the cells of bacteria, cells of blue-green algae, or the cell organelles that was only been seen as a small dots or threads or discs could be enlarged sufficiently, and they could know about all the living parts of the cell. When these studies were on, the scientists were continuously studying the cells and the cell organelles. Finally, the activity of the cell has been focused, and two scientists finally declared about cell theory. This cell theory is a amazing declaration and theory which tells us about the cells. Two scientists formulated the cell theory. First one being Matthias J. Sladen in 1838, who was a botanist, German botanist, and German zoologist called Theodor Swan in 1839. They gave two propositions of cell theory, and after several years, another scientist working on the same line given us the third proposition. His name is Rudolf Virchow, and gave us the third proposition of cell theory. Now, what is the cell theory? Let us now observe it in the next part. Cell theory states, number one proposition is, cell is a unit of structure of all living things as they are composed of cells. The second proposition was, cell is a unit of function as all the metabolic activities take place inside them. These two are being given by Matthias Leyden and Theodor Swan. This means all the living things are made up of the unit called cells. And all the living activity that they perform, that is actually done by that living unit of a living body called cell. This is the basic condition of the of the activity of cells and structural aspect of cells. Rudolf Virchow added a third proposition afterwards, which says all living cells arise from pre-existing cells. Pre-existing cells means the cells that you see now, the animal or plant that you see now, is actually not coming from the sky or whatever. Sometimes we ask that where from the living things came. It is coming from a pre-existing one. From a pre-existing living thing, a new living thing is formed. Plant, animal, or any other living thing. So these three propositions are called cell theory. I repeat, cell is the unit of structure of all living things, as they are composed of cells. Cell is the unit of function of all metabolic functions that take place inside them. And number 3, all living cells arise from existing cells. Now, next thing is that we have to discuss is about types of cells. And whenever we talk about the types, we have to take a particular category for typification. What is the category? Category is on the basis of occurrence in the earth. Some of the cells came in the earth much early, primitive time, and their structural aspect is also primitive. And afterwards, when living things evolve, the cell pattern changed. So on the basis of occurrence of cells and evolution, there are two types. One is prokaryotic cell, that is primitive cell occurred at the beginning of organic evolution, and these kind of cells is very interesting because they lack most of the cell organelles. Cell organelles are almost absent, and nucleus is also not well defined because the lack nuclear membrane. So you cannot say that they have a proper nucleus, but nuclear material were there. But still, such cells are found in bacteria and blue-green algae. Still nowadays they are available in such kind of primitive organisms. So these are called prokaryotic cells, where proper nucleus is not there, nuclear material is not there, cell organelle is not there. Even then they perform all the living activities. And where they are found? They are found mainly in this bacteria and blue-green algae. The second category of cells are eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cells are all modern cells that we see in our surrounding. All the living bodies are made up of cells. These cells in all modern living organisms it is found. They have all the kinds of cell organelles. Cell organelle means living parts of the cell, proper nucleus with a nuclear membrane. These are the cells that we see in our surrounding when we use a compound microscope. Next thing that we have to discuss is classification of eukaryotic cell. Now we will concentrate and focus on eukaryotic cells. When you talk about the eukaryotic cells, two basic types are found. Two categories. Number 1, plant cell. Those are found in plants. And number 2, animal cells. Those who are found in animals. Now we talk about details about a cell. If we see details about a cell, we will have to separate them what aspects are present in a cell. So therefore a table is been made to classify them on the basis of living and non-living parts of a cell. It is divided into non-living things and living things. Non-living parts are what? Cell wall, vacuole, and granules and droplets. These are non-living parts of a cell. Living parts are many. What are the living parts? All the cell organelle, including the cell membrane. See the 10 living parts of a cell: cell membrane, cytoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, ribosomes, lysosomes, Golgi complex, plastids, centrosomes, and the nucleus. One by one, we will take up all these things one after the other. First, we will take the non-living parts of a cell. The first non-living part, that is the cell wall. Cell wall, found only in plant cells. The outermost covering of the plant cell is called cell wall. This is made out of a complex carbohydrate called cellulose. Remember the name? It is a complex carbohydrate polysaccharide named as cellulose. Most of the cell walls are made out of cellulose. This cellulose has got the characteristic of freely permeable, means allow all the substances, those are in solution, in and out of the cell. This is a characteristic. What is the function of this cell wall? Function is it protects the inner substances and allows substances in and out of for the physiological requirement. But one thing you must remember, where this cell wall is found, it is mentioned in the first sentence, found only in plant cells. That means the outermost covering of the plant cell is cell wall. Second non-living thing that is found in the in cells is vacuole. A vacuole is actually a kind of a structure present both in plant and animal cells, but in case of mature animal plant cells, it is enlarged and occupying the central space, and in case of animal cells, it is small but scattered in the cytoplasm. This vacuole is a fluid-filled structure and covered by a single thin membrane. The membrane name is tonoplast. This membrane covers the cell sap that is containing. Inside the vacuole there is a cell sap, a fluid, salt and other minerals is dissolved in it. A very important and interesting pigment is present, that is called anthocyanin. A kind of a red pigment present in some of the specific plants. If you cut a beetroot, you will see the red color of it, and that red color, if you put it in water, it will make the water red. Why does it do? Because anthocyanin present in the cell sap of vacuoles. When you cut a particular plant part, the cells are broken and cell sap comes out of it and mix with water. Hence, it makes the color of water red. The third non-living thing is granules and droplets. Granules and droplets are scattered in the cytoplasm. Mainly they are the storage material like starch, glycogen, and some droplets of fat. These kind of non-living granules and droplets used when it is necessary for our body, means when our body is fasting, when food is not being supplied, then our body takes nutrition from these granules and droplets. In this discussion we will stop this, and next discussion we will discuss about the living aspects, living parts of the cell. Thank you very much.